Week 2 of the LCS is in the books, which means it's time for the pit. I don't want to keep giving teams the same order, so I picked randomly this time. 100 Thieves, and no, I'm not just biased. Yeah, I kind of am, but I don't care. 100 Thieves, I've already done a 15-minute video on this if you want to check it out. Be sure to check out yesterday's or Saturday's TFC video, and check out the interview with Doublelift that came out on Friday. They had a 1-2 week. Overall, not great to start, but they did also play EG and CloudNine, and finished the week off with a win against Immortals. So overall, week pretty much went as expected. Easier schedule next week. Moving on. Some of you might recall that I did a preseason rankings video, and during that video, I made a lot of really bad predictions, but the one that I apparently got right was that Evil Geniuses is looking like a whole new team, with players that people thought were going to be downgrades actually being upgrades. They are currently tied with CloudNine with only 1 loss, 5 wins, and they face off against CloudNine this upcoming weekend easily. Match of the week, match of the split, as of right now, assuming both keep up their momentum going later. We'll touch on Cloud9's kind of drop in momentum a little bit later. But Jojo Pune apparently is actually the main shot caller for this team, and I'll let him explain it for himself.
I knew that we could be good, and after scrimming with them just the first few days, I already knew that we had potential. I like the way my teammates play, and I think they really listen to me, which I really like. I think I just play much better if I'm shot calling, so yeah, I really had high confidence just coming in.
So you're the main shot caller of the team now, you'd say?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. So what was one thing when you went to Korea this past off season? What's the number one thing you came back with that you don't feel like you had in spring?
Honestly, I learned a lot of stuff in Korea, like a lot of stuff. Like I was alone for 3 weeks in my hotel because I felt like I didn't really shot call much before because I had really good teammates that were really good at shot calling, so I feel like I didn't need to, which made sense. And I think I knew I had to step up in that aspect coming into this split. So, and my teammates are really good at just listening and also giving other info that we need. So that's why I think we're doing well.
So yeah, pretty impressive by EG, and I'm curious to see if they can keep it up and see how they do against C9 this week. Their first like really good test. Golden Guardians is very quietly having a middling split. They're currently sitting in 3rd place, tied with Team Liquid. Only 2 losses on the split, 4-2, overall performing pretty well. Licorice very much still carrying his MSI form domestically. I personally thought he would fall off. He did not. Overall, they're looking pretty good. Huhi might be the most underrated support player we've ever seen in LCS history. Vulcan gets a lot of credit. Core JJ understandably gets a lot of credit. Nobody's comparing anybody to Afromu. We're not even touching that. But Huhi's just a whole other animal. And if you've never watched him play Rel prior to the split because you didn't watch 100 Thieves or any of his time prior to that, dude, he loves that champ. For whatever reason, Rel is just his horse, his thing. You give him a champion that he can consistently engage on, like not just Leona or Nautilus, but like Rel very much like gets to call the shots whenever she is in the game. She leads the engages, she leads some of the disengages. It's just like, if Busio is known for his recon, then Huhi is 1000% known for his Rel. Easily his best champion that he's ever played in. I'd argue the single best like player champion combo in the LCS, bar none. Through 5 games of the LCS, Cloud9 once again looked untouchable. They looked like they were the team to beat. Nobody's gonna even come close. They're just gonna smash another title. I don't think anybody on the team is set to really win MVP, but Berserker specifically felt really confident in their play and his picks. He, for some reason, really likes Zeri, which sucks, but I get it.
I mean, I don't know why, like, these days our topside member is doing pretty well. So, you know, I just, like, I mean, to be honest, like, except today game, I just only from CS and then I won, you know? So, I mean, just, you know, shout out my team, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. AP Yumi, or not AP Yumi, AP Zeri. Is it fun to play, Or is it just like you're doing it for the sake of doing it?
To be honest, I practiced yesterday like first time. I mean, I thought it just like fun to watch and fun to play, so I keep trying like play, you know. But it just like felt like so broken. So yesterday I said I'm gonna play tomorrow no matter what. So I just pick it.
But then it happened again. For whatever reason, like the current NRG slash old CLG lineup, their core of like Dokla, Contracts, Palafox, just has Cloud9's number. For whatever reason, it's like they can find a way to contend with them almost every single time, barring last split's playoffs where they got blown out. But like prior to that, they notably took them to Game 5 last year. In the regular season, they were still causing upsets against Cloud9. I don't know what it is about that team. It's an anomaly. They're the only ones that seem to pull it off consistently. But hey, you know what? Good for NRG. And now it just makes the matchup against EG even bigger this week. The battle for first place is officially here. Every year I feel like there's teams that just are sleeper hits. Not that they're ever going to like win the split. They might cause an upset in playoffs, but hey, you know what? They keep the league entertaining, at least in my mind. They humble some of the top teams who might be getting a little bit too full of themselves and bring them back down to earth a little bit. Dignitas is that team this split. I got the chance to talk to their ADC Tomio, who got to play in a thrilling game against Team Liquid, which was basically like a hit the Nexus moment, which luckily he was on the good end of, and he had nothing but smiles and laughs at the end of it.
I think everyone knew that, like, if we waited for the minions, you know, walk up when it's good, like, we'll just win slowly, you know? Like, I think no one had, like, a specific call to, like, oh, just hit the Nexus here or whatever. It's, like, just play it by ear, kind of. Like, it should be our game to win at that point. So just, like, play normally, and it should be over.
Closed it out, so
I
that's
made
always...
it a bit too spicy, I think. Yeah, but if we didn't end because of what I did, then...
Are your standings accurate to where you feel like you are as a team, or do you feel like there's a bit of a mismatch?
The top dog's clearly C9, and then maybe like GGS, and then the rest of the league is kind of similar in strength, I'd say. It just depends on who performs better on the day.
Dig sits at an even record right now, 3-3, flat 500. Do I think that they're gonna like use this momentum to propel well above and beyond? Not necessarily. I've seen some not so great plays out of Santorin that maybe if he can clean up, they'll be fine. Rich, honestly, has looked like one of the best, if not the best top laner in the league right now. His Quinn game was a lot of fun to watch. Oh my god. If he can keep pulling out unique picks like this, he will win my heart over, because god, is it so nice to see somebody pick Renekton and then we just pick the immediate counter pick that is Quinn with Static Shiv that just clears the wave, gets to roam around, and just makes Renekton look like an absolute idiot while just smashing him in lane. I loved it. I love Rich. I love watching this Dignitas team, even if I do think they're still destined for 7th.
You know what really grinds my gears?
The fact that Valorant is getting team skins for the VCT. Meanwhile, League has existed as a product for 10 years now, and we don't get shit. It's amazing to me. Now, granted, the VCT only has 30 teams, and they just need one weapon skin per gun. I'm assuming they'll put a new one out each and every year, more similar to Call of Duty, whereas League of Legends, it's a bit more complicated because you can't put a skin out for every champion in the game, for every team in a major region. It'd be too much. It's like over 1,500. But what you can do is you can pick a champion to give a region skin that has chromas for each team if you truly want it, and just give that revenue to the league as a whole, and you know, have people pay specifically RP for the chromas, and that extra chroma RP goes to the individual teams. That you could do. Why they don't do it, I don't know. I think John Needham said in an interview with Travis Gafford a while ago that we have too many teams across LoL esports. Then find a way to reduce it, dude. Like, come on, how did they get this stuff before we I know Valorant's the favorite child, believe me, I get it right now, but holy crap, really? They get team skins. Now, I've seen some people counter this of like, oh, then that devalues the world skins. you don't have to fully go all out, and you can still give a world championship skin that is like a clear step above. Obviously, like, we have a bunch of skins in League of Legends that are different calibers. Like, you don't have to make the LCS skin the freaking world's quality, obviously. But would it kill you to give us some ways to actually support our teams in game? You took away the icons, you took away the wards and like the fan packs that used to exist. So now we get nothing on a domestic level. So like, come on, give us something to work with here, dear God. Let me sit down for this one because I do feel bad and we need to have a really serious talk about FlyQuest. I want to make sure I give this the utmost respect that it deserves given what I'm about to say. Somebody needs to lose their job at FlyQuest. And that's a really crappy thing to say, but if you look at every traditional sports model, whenever a team has this many good players and they start off 0-6 or a horrible performance like this, the head coach typically goes. And whoever is responsible for not being able to get this team together on stage has to go. You need to make a change now. You can't afford to do what you did last split and like sub and win some at the very end to try and put a band-aid over the problem. It's like, nah, these players are all too good. If there's a clear issue in the locker room, then sure, let go of a player. Get rid of them, bring somebody else in, and fix it now. Or, what's likely the case, change your coaching. Figure out what you need to do to get somebody else in there to turn this roster around, because 0-6 is downright horrible and the team doesn't look good either. It's not like an 0-6 where it's like, oh, this is close, like we'll be fine in rebounds. Like, nah, like even if they rebound slightly, even if they've been smashing in scrims, doesn't matter. Like, you look terrible on stage, and something needs to turn that around. You need like some sort of like remember the Titans boot camp or something. I mean, like, how this roster has come this far down is beyond me. Prince does not look like he did in spring, which again, this brings up the whole import conversation of every time that we bring over these big hotshot imports to the LCS, they perform great in spring split or for a portion of time, and then they fall off afterwards as they either get a little too comfy in the NA lifestyle, or solo queue is obviously bad here. That starts getting to him, and you see a clear fall off in skill, like whatever it might be. Bro, it ain't working for FlyQuest. Like, it's really bad. So you got to make a change now. I don't know what it is. I don't know who it is, but you got to make a change.
So I am confusion.
I am confused how Evelyn herself, Madison Beers, is pulling the same amount of viewership as the LCS on Friday at 9 o'clock when it's CloudNine versus NRG, one of the best teams in the league, and we're barely pulling 35K. I know I said I wasn't going to focus on viewership this split and try and just enjoy it more given finals in New Jersey and everything else there, but it's impossible to avoid these numbers in this conversation because it's bad. Like, how many sponsors are we going to lose this offseason? How bad is the fallout going to be next year when the reckoning happens because of this viewership? It's coming. We have not hit rock bottom yet. We're going to hit rock bottom whenever these numbers are shown to any sponsor that we have a renewal with, and they all look at us and just laugh and just say, no, not gonna happen, and we lose every bit that we got. So I don't know what's happening. Shit, we might even be forced into online play just because we can't get the money to fund the studio during the day. Like, oh. Okay, TSM, I see you at 3-3 when nobody was really expecting you guys to kind of get to that point. That's pretty damn good, must say. Now this week is gonna be contentious, to say the least, because for those that don't know, TSM has been playing with a mid laner called Insanity, who is a replacement for Ruby, who was supposed to be their starter coming into the split. Ruby was a middling mid laner in Europe last split. TSM picked him up for their farewell tour, but he couldn't get in due to visa issues, so Insanity's been in, and Insanity's been playing well. Now granted, he did have a slight drop off from week 1 to week 2. He's not like the greatest mid laner in the LCS, but he is solid. and has earned his starting spot, in my opinion, on this TSM roster to just ride it out. So the question is going to be, will TSM bench Insanity to give Ruby the starting roster spot that he was promised? And if I'm TSM, I'm looking at it like, nah, like let Insanity play. You let the ship ride while it's going well. Because not only is just Insanity playing well, Wild Turtle's playing well, Boogie clearly plays well around Insanity. Hanser hasn't really made any noise in top lane, but for the most part is still decently solid. And Chime has looked pretty decent. Like overall, like 3-3, and they even had some close games in those losses that they still could have won. So if you're a TSM fan and you're watching this split, you're having a good time so far. The drama's about to begin, but you're still having a good time. As for NRG, they're 2-4, another 1-2 week, but notably the win against CloudNine. But realistically, like, I'm not looking at their win over CloudNine and saying, yeah, this is the form that I'm expecting them to maintain all the way through the year. It's the losses versus the lesser teams that, sure, maybe they figured something out in this game versus C9 and it clicked, and they'll, come back to earth and just actually play well for the remainder of the split and basically finish in that, sixth place and above spot that we typically assume that this roster will end up at. But the problem is that with a lot of teams like this, you play to the level of your opponent to a certain extent, and when you're playing C9, you're going all out, trying to beat them, giving it literally everything in your power to make sure that you get that dub, and you upset them, and it's a great win, etc. And then you go back and you get humbled against a middling opponent again, because the truth is, it was that extra motivation to beat the top team, and honestly, that pressure off your shoulders that you just can't replicate in the games that are a lot closer and matter a lot more. Palafox notably said in his interview on the LCS stage that they're playing timid to a certain extent. Like, they're not playing loose and free like they want to. And sure, they could unlock that and potentially do it and take games off of CloudNine and Evil Geniuses and others. But at the same time, you look at all the practice and all the stage games before then, and you don't sit here with a high amount of confidence that they'll be able to flip it around and just be fine. Now, their upcoming schedule, sure, maybe they could. Remember last week when I said that Summit was on MVP watch? He's no longer on MVP watch. Neither is TL for that matter. A 1-2 week with 2 games that, quite frankly, they just did not look all that great on, getting absolutely bodied by Evil Geniuses, and then notably dropping a game to Dignitas in a close heartbreaker at the end, but they were always playing from the behind position, just trying to win. I got the chance to talk to Harry after that game and get his thoughts on the matter. What now in your sophomore split do you think has been the biggest change for you since last split when you first came into the league?
So in spring split, I think I played very underwhelmingly. I didn't play to my 100, but also in saying that, I did also learn a bunch of new things, and I improved a lot. So I feel like I just feel more confident and just ready, like individually, and it's now about just like showing it to the fans. And since we kept the same roster, I feel like we do have an advantage for the early season of the split. And yeah, I think we were ramping up slowly, and now we're just like showing it,
Will you commit to doing a shoey at the Prudential Center if TL makes it there? Like after your games, obviously, not while you're playing.
But is a shoe when you drink out of your shoe?
Yeah.
If we do win LCS and there happens to be something to drink and we win, and then obviously I'm wearing shoes, then yeah, I mean I can see me doing that.
Now in isolation, TL's record looks good, 4-2. But it's once again this consistency problem that they seem to struggle with literally all the time. That it's like the moment you try buying into them, it's just something else happens. So maybe they can get their problems figured out, or the likely answer is going to be they just have to get hot at the right time in playoffs. And if they do, then sure, we can see them make a run. Back down to earth, I guess. An 0-3 week. Yeah, It's amazing how perception can change week over week. Look, this team just looks like 5 guys that all individually have some talent. Treats we know is decently good. Same for Balulu. Tacticals look good at times, but when you put them all together and you tell them you got a team fight together, it's rough.